right now. But transfer deadline day, people, and it shuts at 11 o'clock tonight. And there has been quite a few rumours doing the rounds, but the ones that we're going to start off first is talking about Radu Dragusin, and Dan Kilpatrick says that Dragusin will see a specialist on Monday, but is expected to miss the most of the rest of the season. Fabrizio Romano says that even though Spurs signed Kevin Danso, Spurs do want to sign one more centre-back because Dragusin's injury is very serious. And I mean, just doesn't stop, does it, with these bloody injuries?
I know, it's been relentless, hasn't it? And I had a fear that when he went off injured, it looked like he might be serious because of how he twisted it, and the fact that he, looked like he kind of half tried to continue and immediately knew it wasn't going to happen. So the fact that he's out for the rest of the season isn't a massive shock, to be honest. And obviously that's going to hamper his development as a young centre-back as well. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of state he comes back next season. Also, we have got Danso in now. We haven't really talked about him on this channel ourselves because obviously we haven't been around. But I think he is an upgrade, in my opinion, on Dragusin, probably in terms of, especially stylistically, I think in terms of the profile of player who he is. So we have a good player covering there. But obviously with Dragusin injured, it's basically, again, it's the story of our season, one in, one out at the moment. We can't seem to get everyone fit at the same time. It does mean hopefully when Romero's fit, I don't know when that is, we'll have Romero, Van de Ven, Danso and Ben Davis proven pretty much where we've been at for most of the season, just for Danso, so Dragusin. In terms of Danso, I see him as like a basically worse version of Romero. That's basically how I look at him. Obviously he's a bit older, I think, than Romero, but from what I can see, he's like very aggressive, he's very combative, probably not as good on the ball, but also maybe a bit faster than Romero, potentially in behind. But I think as well, Romero maybe has that bit better timing sense, but I think as well Danso's a bit more, probably maybe a little bit stronger, a bit more aggressive. So I think there's a bit of give and take there, but I do see Danso as very Romero-style defender when it comes to that kind of style. And I think he's better on the ball than Dragusin. So I think he's an upgrade on Dragusin. I think he can probably be relied on more than Dragusin. But I don't think when all our centre-backs are fit, I don't know if he's better than Van de Ven or Romero.
No, but what he does do is provide, good cover. That's what he does do. The next story is an interesting one that's, broken kind of this morning, about Mark Guehi. Fabrizio Romano says Spurs also made a late bid for Mark Guehi in the last 48 hours as a top target, but Palace rejected and will now run to the summer. He's out of contract in June 2026. Jacob Steinsberg says that Tottenham have been trying to sign Mark Guehi, Crystal Palace refusing to let him go. Tottenham's opening bid was believed to be £60 million. Sources are not ruling out the defender making the switch before the window shuts at 11 p.m. Ed Aaron says that the Guehi bid was £55 million up front plus significant add-ons that could have taken the total amount to £70 million. The bid was made prior to Spurs signing Danso. And Mike McGrath says Guehi will stay at Crystal Palace despite a deadline day approach from Tottenham. I mean, you're never going to get Guehi outside of Palace on a deadline day. So, I mean, I don't know what they're playing at here. Also, you put on top of that, they've let go of Chalobah this window. So they're even more going to be digging their heels on top of that to keep him. That is not a deal you do on deadline day. It's never going to be possible unless you're paying over the odds, and we don't like to pay over the odds. That is just 70 million over the odds.
Yeah, maybe it is a bit, I guess.
With a year and a bit.
With 18 months left, it is probably a bit over the odds, to be honest, for someone like Guehi. Look, Palace got their own, obviously, this season. They don't want to fall away. They want to have a good end to the season. Obviously, they're also going to want time to sign a replacement. They're not going to want to go ending the window having lost Chalobah and Guehi and just go forward with that. They're going to want to sign a replacement. So if we were going to do this deal, it was going to have to be done a lot earlier than deadline day, albeit I think Ed Aaron said this bid was put in before even the Danso bid was. So maybe maybe only the news is filtering through now, and maybe it actually happened before. But I just think there's zero chance we get him out of Palace, only if it's proper ridiculous money. Because 70 million, yes, it's paying over the odds, but it's not ridiculous money. It's still maybe 10 million over what we should be paying, I would say. But I think at this stage, the league placing is probably worth it more to Palace than that little bit of extra money. So unless we're going to go for like 85 million or something ridiculous, I don't think there's any point in them accepting at this point. So I think I don't see that. It just smacks of desperation, to be honest. The way we've been moving in this window, to like, the way we've been agreeing, the way you usually in this day and age agree deals is getting bids done with the player, personal terms, then you agree with the club, making sure the player wants to come before you put a bid in. And the way we've dealt with Tomori, the way we've dealt with Tell, just tells me that no pardon the pun, but that just tells me that it's kind of been desperate, and it's kind of been a slapdash kind of way of working in this window, and hasn't been targeted with precision, hasn't really come into this window with targets which we know we can get over the line. It's kind of looks like we've just been using a scattergun approach, going from target to target, hoping we can get something over the line and looking for opportunities. It's basically how we've been going every January window ever since Daniel Levy's come in. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised, but I was hoping there were signs of change, but doesn't seem so based on this window.
Yeah. So that's the Mark Guehi thing. The other thing is Axel Disasi, who's been doing the rounds over the last 48 hours in terms of an approach from Tottenham. Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham have agreed a loan deal with Chelsea for Disasi, but no buy option clause and loan fee included. Disasi is not accepting the Spurs bid. He's already agreed terms with Aston Villa. However, Chelsea have no intention to negotiate with Villa as a Champions League spot competitor. Spurs will keep trying for Disasi after a loan fee agreed with Chelsea, as revealed yesterday. No green light yet from the player. The Telegraph says that the deal Tottenham agreed with Chelsea to take Axel Disasi on loan for the rest of the season is worth $5 million. Disasi has so far resisted giving Spurs the green light. James Ollie says that Tottenham have now pulled out the running for Axel Disasi from Chelsea, and Matt Law says that Spurs now do not expect to sign Disasi today, which is kind of a relief for me. I mean, whenever I've seen him play for Chelsea, been a bit of a disaster, to be honest. I mean, I always just go back to that own goal he scored in the FA Cup. That one just sticks in my mind. But I mean, for a guy who's just flat out rejecting us when he's got no other options, and he's accepted Villa when Chelsea don't even want to deal with Villa, I mean, I don't want him.
Yeah, I don't think he's good enough anyway. I'm not a big fan of him. I know a certain Chelsea fan who calls him disaster. So I'm not interested in Disasi coming. I think it's a good thing he's rejected us if that's the case. I know we could probably do with some cover on loan, and if it is a loan deal, straight loan, I guess it's not the end of the world just to have some cover in that position, because with Dragusin's injury, I guess it lessens the need for us to sign a left back in a way, because if we sign Disasi on loan, it means Davis can just exclusively be a left back maybe, or I guess that's maybe what they're thinking. But albeit I think he's better at centre back anyway at this stage of his career. I just think I'd rather Ben Davis than Disasi, to be honest. Like I'd rather
Archie
him.
Gray than Disasi.
So I just don't see the point. I don't see the point in getting him through the door. I think he's not a good defender, and him in the high line scares the shit out of me, to be honest.
Next one we're going to talk about is Leon Bailey. As Fabrizio Romano said last night, that Tottenham have called Aston Villa to be informed on the situation of Leon Bailey. However, this depends on Aston Villa, and there is no open doors at the moment. We know that they've got Marcus Rashford over the line now, so maybe that does, but I think this report came out even after the Marcus Rashford deal. I mean, in terms of Leon Bailey, I do like him to a certain extent, but he's just too up and down for me and too inconsistent, and I would take him on a loan from now to the end of the season, but in terms of a permanent transfer, I think we should be setting our sights a bit higher than Leon Bailey. I
agree. There's just been an update here from Dan Kilpatrick as well. I don't know if you read that one.
No, go for it.
Said Spurs have considered Aston Villa's Leon Bailey and Okafor, although neither player is actively being pursued ahead of Monday's 11 p.m. deadline. So I don't know what. I mean, if they're not actively being pursued, I mean, I don't know how we expect to get over the line. But yeah, I agree. A kind of a loan deal. He offers something different to Brennan would be okay. I think he's on his day. We saw last season what an effective winger he can be in the Premier League. He's
19 contributions.
Yeah, he's got a great left foot. He's got a very good shot on him, and he's also quite a good dribbler. But the problem with him is he's like a 1 in 5 player. Like one game he'll be brilliant and probably get like 2 goals and 2 assists, and then the next 4 games he'll just be nowhere to be seen, and that's a big problem with Leon Bailey, I think, and that's probably plagued his career, not just his time at Villa. I think last season was a bit of an outlier in terms of his numbers. He seems to have like one season on, one season off. That's how his career's usually been. Obviously, he showed quality at Leverkusen as well, but again, they were happy to let him go because he was just too inconsistent. So as much as he's got great quality, he's 26 now, so he's not exactly a young player anymore. That
should be coming into his prime, really.
Yeah, he should already be in his prime, and I think this is probably what his prime is, just a very good player, but inconsistent. So I think we could do the numbers, we could do with someone of his profile, but I wouldn't consider him for a permanent right now. But I would consider him for a loan just to beef up the forward line, I think.
Do you think he's better than Brennan?
I think at their best, he's Brennan. I think Brennan's more consistent. Even though Brennan's not consistent himself, I think he's more consistent than Bailey. I think, obviously, Bailey's got more quality as a player. I think when they're both at their best, I think Bailey's better for sure. But I think Brennan is a bit more consistent and can also just be a bit more effective sometimes than Bailey.
Yeah, having said that, I do think we definitely need an attacker in by the end of the day today at 11 p.m. And if Bailey is the only option and Villa are willing to let him go, I would take him on a loan from now to the end of the season. I really would.
Yeah, I would take him on loan.
The next player we're going to talk about is Brian Mbeumo, as Ali Gold says that Postecoglou is a big admirer of Mbeumo. I mean, I think we all are a big admirer of Brian Mbeumo. That don't mean we're going to sign him, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Not this window anyway. Maybe come the summer you can reassess things, see what kind of state we're in. But I think, in January, no chance of getting Mbeumo out of Brentford. Although we know Brentford, again, they are a team who, if the money's right, they do tend to sell, and they've shown that. But I can't see a deadline day for a bid for Mbeumo ever happening. But I guess reassess it in the summer.
Joao Felix, Matt Laws says that Tottenham alongside Villa expressed an interest in Joao Felix, but Chelsea would prefer not to send him out to a Premier League rival. Damasio says that Felix has now given the green light to AC Milan, and the next few hours will be decisive for his future, and that was going to have a knock-on effect for Noah Okafor, but it looks like he's not coming to Tottenham and he is going to Napoli.
Yeah, that looks to be the case at the moment. Apparently there's agreement between Napoli and Okafor. When it comes to Felix, I've always actually been quite a big fan of Felix. The problem is he's just never lived up to his potential, and obviously he signed for Atletico Madrid at like 19 for 100 million euros, I think it was at the time, after they sold Griezmann, and it looked like he was going to be the heir to the throne, but he's never ever had really a consistent run of a season ever, really. I think he's shown flashes. He's clearly got ability. Obviously he's played in big tournaments as well for Portugal. And there are some games you look at him and you're thinking, wow, this guy is just serious talent, and like anyone's lucky to have him. And then he'll go through, I think he's probably even more inconsistent than Bailey. Like he'll just go through a stretch of games thinking, how is this guy ever a £100 million player? Like, I don't understand what anyone saw in him. There are some games that also you see that from him. So again, I'd maybe consider a loan. In terms of the kind of position we need, someone who probably plays either up front or off the right, he probably doesn't really fit that, albeit he's kind of played up front sometimes. I don't think him being a striker in our system is maybe the best fit for someone like Joao Felix, but I just don't see Tottenham being the place where he comes and really finds himself. I don't know what he needs, but going to all these super clubs that he has, Barca, Atletico, Chelsea, he just doesn't seem settled. He doesn't seem to be finding a pathway in his career. Maybe he needs to go to I don't know where it is, but somewhere a bit lower down and just be the main man somewhere, and just so he can feel the love. Because right now it just doesn't seem as though he knows what he is, or he knows or he just can't find that consistency whatever at all. So for me,
how old is he?
He's 24, 25. He's not young anymore. So I mean, yeah, a loan deal, I guess I'd be open to it at this point, considering how desperate we are for a forward, but I'm just not being impressed with Felix. I thought it was a weird signing for Chelsea to make in the summer anyway, considering he wasn't great when he was on loan there. And he was on loan at Barca, didn't pull up any trees. His last few years at Atletico, not been great. I mean, I don't know when his last good season might have been at Benfica when he first got signed. I mean, I don't know. He just hasn't been good. I mean, at what point do you say he's just not that great of a player, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, he's just a player at the moment, from what we've seen in his career at the age of 24, 25, that shows flashes of brilliance, but never lived up to the hype. That's the reality of him, and he is going to end up at AC Milan now, so we'll see how that goes for him.
Is that for sure?
Well, it's not for sure, but Damasio says that Felix has been given the green light to go to AC Milan.
I'm just looking at his best season is Benfica back in 2018-19. That's his best goal scoring season. That was 15 goals. He hasn't hit 10 goals in a season
And
since.
that was what, 7 years ago?
It was 2019, so yeah, 7 years ago. And since then, he hasn't hit double digits in goals in any season. So just showing me, I don't think definitely in terms of putting any serious money. He's probably on decent wages as well. Just doesn't seem worth it to me.
And last but not least, in this update, we're going to talk about Tyler Dibling, as Dan Kilpatrick says that Tottenham remain in the market for a forward before the deadline, but have now cooled their interest in Southampton's Tyler Dibling after they were put off by the Saints' demand for an astronomical fee, well in excess of their reported £55 million asking price.
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense. I didn't really see Tottenham laying out 55 million in this window. They probably
saying in excess. They're saying well in excess.
Well, then definitely not. I think in the summer, once they go down, you might be able to get a better deal. Obviously, but if you wait till then, you're risking other clubs stumping you. If he's available now and you're able to just stump up the cash to kind of get ahead of the competition, maybe it's worth doing because he's a serious talent. But obviously, if they're asking for that kind of money. Obviously, with a win on Saturday as well, maybe they feel like there's the chance of them staying up. They got an outside chance now. I don't know, but yeah, I thought Tottenham would only really go for this if the price was around 40. The fact that it's in excess of 55, I don't think there's any chance of ever going to go for that. But I like him.
I do think that when they go down in the summer, I don't think it's a question of if. I think it's a question of when they do go down at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think things change in the summer.
Agreed.
But yeah, currently as of 1:15, that is your update for deadline day. Hopefully we'll have some more news to bring you as the day progresses. But yeah, we're all just waiting for Ali Gold's tweet saying we're all done for the day.
Yeah, just do it. Just put us out of our misery, Ali. Come on, we're waiting for it.
But yeah, that is the update.